Military campaigns are perhaps the most difficult endeavor in human history or in human activity. I have been involved in or planned in the last 3 air operations in Desert Fox, in Desert or an Allied force, and in the opening months of Enduring Freedom. And all I can tell you about what happens at air operations is how much I don't know. And it requires a great number of people at each of the component headquarters, at the land component, maritime component, and air component headquarters, each specialized to pull this off. And what the combination, however, of those new ideas on how to do operations and effects-based operations with precision and stealth, they enabled us to do something that was called parallel warfare. And I'll describe a little bit more in detail what that is in a second. Slide, please. First of all, it's important to understand the evolution in stealth or in precision technology since the Second World War. In the Second World War, the CEP of a B-17 was about 3,300 feet. And so if you wanted to destroy and have a high probability destruction of a point target of about 60 by 100 feet, you'd need about 1,500 airplanes and about 9,000 bombs. That's a lot of stuff, and that's what drove those military operations and the destructiveness of the military air campaigns against both Germany and Japan. Is precision is relative when you look at it today versus 1945. By Vietnam, we had gotten significantly more accurate in the fact that a lot of these aircraft now were doing the operations were fighter bombers and dropping at a little lower altitude. We were able to be more precise, but still it took a large number of airplanes to achieve a desired effect. Bombs, and specifically the laser-guided bombs on aircraft such as the F-111 and the F-117 in Desert Storm, we were able to hit 2 independent targets very precisely with about 10-meter CEP or 10-foot CEP from a single aircraft. When we added additional aircraft such as the B-2, that capability is now to the point where we can hit multiple targets on a single pass. We also developed joint direct attack munitions capability. These are these GPS-guided weapons. They also give us the ability for a large number of other aircraft besides just stealth aircraft to hit multiple weapons per targets. Navy F-18s are equipped with JDAM as well as all the Air Force bombers. A B-1, for example, can carry 24 joint direct attack munitions in an internal payload that could be used against 24 separate targets. Slide, please.
What does CEP stand for?
Oh, pardon me. Circular error probable. It is the probability that that 50% of the weapons will land inside that line. So if what I say basically is if I say the CEP of a B-17 in World War II was 3,300 feet, that means there was a high likelihood that 50% of the bombs dropped landed within inside 3,300 feet. So not very.
Is it a 20-foot circle with a radius of 10 feet or a radius of 20 feet?
It's a 10-foot radius. But it's really important as well that what the capability of the Joint Direct Attack Munition has given us, together with the integration of global positioning systems on our aircraft, is we are now able to achieve that near precision. And again, we have to understand that there is a difference between the precision of laser-guided weapons that are described here and the Joint Direct Attack Munition. The Joint Direct Attack Munition is not quite as accurate, although it is much more accurate, we are finding, in employment than we anticipated. But the addition of these capabilities, the ability to do a large number of fires or effects early in an operation in a very, very short period of time. And it really has been the evolution of about the last 20 years that has, from the earliest employment of laser-guided bombs in Vietnam War, Storm, and Enduring Freedom, that has given us this capability. Slide, please. It's also important to understand the role that stealth. We have an advantage in this conflict in that the adversary has basically ceded most of his air, or about 2/3 of the country's air, to us early. And so the extremely vicious fights that we had for air superiority, and even though we didn't lose a very large number of airplanes in Desert Storm and in Allied force, those were sustained fights for air superiority. We are starting off in a significantly better position as a consequence of the northern and southern no-fly zones, which will enable operations that might not otherwise have been able to commence. But nevertheless, this is the size of one of the initial strike packages that went into Basra in January 1991. And if you look at all of the support aircraft that were required for that strike package, you basically had about 41 aircraft with only 8 bombers. I mean, this worked with, we had aircraft to do sweep and escort over the top to protect the air assets from enemy fighters. We had actually used drones to tickle the air defenses and to enable us to more effectively target the enemy surface-to-air missiles. You had a variety of SAM ram suppression airplanes, F-18s and F-4Gs, and you also had the electronic attack planes, the Navy's Prowlers, EA-6Bs, and all of that to get 8 bombers to a target. That was the way we had to do operations without stealth aircraft. Slide, please. If you look at this...
Including the 8 bombers?
Including the 8 bombers, yes. If you look at the difference between the employment of this F-117s on the first night of the Gulf War, we literally had a significantly greater capability because they required a far fewer amount of support assets. Now, we don't throw 117s up by themselves. They like a lot of other people flying around with them and other stuff to get the volume of the radars down for everybody. But nevertheless, it is an almost independent capability, and its stealth qualities enable us to do a large number of things because we don't require all of the support assets necessary that would be used for this. It's important to understand as well that the evolution of both the Air Force and the Navy and Marine Corps' combat aircraft will enable us to do even the left package, a more conventional strike package, with a far smaller number of support aircraft to bombers, just because we have much more dual-use capability in each of the Air Forces, Navies, and Marines fighter aircraft, as well as our bomber aircraft. Slide, please.
The first set of planes that you talked about, that was also Desert Storm, right?
That was Desert Storm, and these were both Desert Storm.
Right. And you're just showing us the difference between.
Sorry, same slide. In Desert Storm, the escort package for non-stealth was about 5 to 1. And you said stealth still required some escorts. What sort of ratio of escorts? 1 to 1, 2 to 1?
We used a different approach, and I don't want to go into the specific details, but we used an area approach to support assets. Because the last thing we want, that F-117 or B-21 is a bunch of wingmen out there that everybody can see. But it's important to understand that these were numbers on the support side from the first day of the war. As that operation proceeded, the support requirements obviously went down as we were able to erode the enemy air defenses. So again, this is not a magic rule of thumb on how much support to conventional and stealth aircraft, but it is to understand that the stealth does give us some capabilities in addition to the precision and enables us to do a lot more stuff very early in a fight. Slide, please. Now, kind of to the meat. I guess somebody had a lot of ideas here. Everybody is kind of familiar with how a series or a parallel circuit works. In a series circuit, you really talk about them as we put light bulbs on a Christmas tree, and one bulb goes out and the whole thing is gone, and you have to figure out which bulb was out. But the challenge is traditional military operations have taken kind of a serial approach, all the way back through time when it was a fact that you didn't have aircraft, so you had to take a linear approach to the battlefield and to defeat the enemy in turn. But even with air assets, in terms of having to roll back enemy air defenses, those types of things limited your ability to go after what you really wanted, because the air defenses aren't the targets. The targets are the targets, and you have to go after the air defenses to enable you to do other things. Because once you can gain air dominance, then our surface combat forces have a significantly greater degree of flexibility in different things that they can do early in a fight. And so our ability to go after targets, if we had the ability to go after the entire target set go after what we wanted to instead of the air defenses, then go after the leadership, for example, early, or to go after industrial targets or whatever they may be, then that would actually provide us a significantly greater degree of leverage. Now, what I'd like to try to do now is walk you through, instead of kind of big to little, I think it makes more sense in this subject to walk you little to big and to talk to you how